So, hi Dan.
Hey Joe.
How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, very well, thank you. We're here for the SQD Stream, the SQD podcast, the Squid Stream, some may call it. And we're going to talk about a few things today, such as your background, a bit about SQD, where we're headed, the recent hack as well with KelpDAO, and some things that the community can look forward to coming up. So, first of all, we're here in Istanbul. This is an offsite, and we do these every quarter, don't we? Every 3 months or so we come out. It was Tbilisi before, and now we're in Istanbul. So how are you enjoying it so far?
Yeah, it's good. It's amazing to get the team together. Something that, we're fully, as you know, being based in Dubai, we're this fully remote distributed team. So it's incredible to be able to get together and get everyone in the same room and really get into it, and obviously be able to do things like this.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's something that we've been meaning to do for a while. We obviously do community calls every now and then with the Telegram chat. So yeah, it's really nice to actually sit down in person and get this on film. So tell us then, how did you become the CPO of SQD, and kind of what attracted you to the role, and maybe something in your background that really kind of shaped you to excel in this kind of role?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the short answer is that I spent most of my career as a founder, from leaving university all the way to round about 2020. I was building companies, founding companies, and exited a company around 2018 and had the choice of what I wanted to do. And fell down the Web3 rabbit hole, which I know you've fallen down, and just dove into a lot of communities. Became very interested in Polkadot in particular. Was very interested in a multi-chain world. It was clear to me that one chain wasn't going to do everything, and I really liked this LayerZero idea at the time. And I was always interested in infrastructure projects. So in the time that I'd been building companies, it was always related to infrastructure of some kind. Built a company that was a logging infrastructure for Fortune 500 companies. So always curious about the infrastructure of Web3. And many people say that it's decentralized, but that doesn't mean you don't need great infrastructure. You still need people to stand things up, run things. So it's kind of the intersection of security and infrastructure that I'm most interested in. And so I became very involved in a project called Fala, which was in the Polkadot ecosystem at the time, and ended up advising them, spent quite a long time there, and then finally just took a break again, but was looking for a project that I could advise and be heavily involved in, and ended up speaking to Dimitri, who, as you know, is, I would say, a bit of a product visionary. And that took me to the core value of SQD, which is it's very, very difficult to get data out of blockchain. Everything is about consensus and transactions per second. It's about getting data in, and SQD is solving getting the data out. And I was like, okay, that's a project that I'd like to be involved in. Fantastic,
amazing. Wasn't actually aware that you had a bit of a 2018 exit there and then fell down the rabbit hole. I thought you'd been Web3. So you
Well, I've been involved in Web3 since I was buying XRP in 2012.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's something I've always been very interested in. But I think I just, like probably most of us, didn't fully understand it or didn't necessarily know where it was going. And I was always watching it, like what's going to happen here. And so when it came to being able to essentially just, choose what I wanted to do, I just became more and more attracted to this notion of, whether it's a bankless future or however you want to describe it. The one analogy that I'll always give to people is that most of us don't have multiple bank accounts, right? Most of us have one bank account, and nowadays the algorithms to check for fraud in banking are all just automated. And so if you happen to get caught in one of those algorithms and you're a false positive, you can just lose your bank account. And if you lost your bank account tomorrow, what would you do, right? How would you pay your bills? How would you pay your mortgage? How would you do anything? So I I'm very attracted to this idea of a trustless first world. And yeah, by 2018, I kind of had the ability to go deeper and deeper and deeper. But yeah, I've been watching it for a long time.
Fantastic, awesome, nice, great pedigree there. A Ripple stamp from 2012. Who would have thought it? That is hilarious. Love it. My first was actually Litecoin, to be fair. All right.
How did you get into that?
Coinbase app when it first came out. My father was right into that kind of thing. We was big H-bar Hedera stands as well at one point. Had some merch for Hedera. So yeah, fell down the rabbit hole well and truly. Cool, all right. So I think one thing I wanted to get onto today is the fact that even people that know of SQD, investors, some of my best friends in the Web3 space, and they often say, Joe, what is SQD? They're like, come on, I know you do data, I know you've got, SDKs and tools that people use, but how do you kind of make money and how do you monetize that? And I think it will be great today, and you always have been really good at explaining in a nutshell, obviously not to put too much pressure on you now, but how would you describe SQD to someone that's kind of first coming across it?
So just building on what I just mentioned, fundamentally blockchain is about transactions per second and consensus, right? It's decentralized by its nature. So we have to figure out a bunch of transactions that we're going to get in the next block. That's the basic thing. And we're pushing ever more towards faster chains. You see that every day, every week, every month.
Oh, yeah.
The monads of the world. I was just at a conference in Cannes, and it's like that's the one thing everyone wants, right? Because the one use case of Web3 is finance, right? So we want to be able to do crypto payments. Therefore, we need to be able to go to a point of sale and be able to do a crypto payment. So we need a block to happen in the time that someone is patient enough to wait at a point of sale terminal, right?
Sure.
So as I mentioned in my first answer, if everything is optimized for getting data in, then getting data out is a real challenge, right? Because you can't, whenever you optimize for one thing, you have to make a trade-off for something else.
Sure.
And so the entire system is built for writing data onto the blockchain. So then getting data out is painful, it's slow, it's expensive. And yet at the same time, if we're going to create this world that relies upon Web3, it's not just sufficient to have these really fast chains. We need to understand what's happened on these chains. We need to be able to get some of the data out to understand what's going on. So SQD is solving that problem. It's saying, okay, of course we can have faster and faster chains, but we're going to solve the other side, which is how do we understand what's going on inside them. So in a nutshell, if we're going to solve that problem, we either need to re-engineer blockchain entirely so it's optimized for getting data out, which we just established we can never do, right? Because it's all about getting data in, or we build a new layer on top, a read layer on top that reads the information off the blockchain, and that is what SQD is. It's reading data, understanding what happened, who did what transaction, what moved from here to over there, and making that all the opposite, easy to do, scalable, efficient, effective. That's what we're here to do. So we've got some, as you well know, some pretty major and significant players in the Web3 world relying on us so they understand what's happening and they can focus on building their products and leave the infrastructure problem to us.
Fantastic, awesome, that was great. So I know you've got a few one-liners that you like to say. I'm not going to put words in your mouth here, but personally I like to say Web3's data all in one place. I think that's what we've just changed the X bio to recently actually. So what's your favourite one-liner for SQD?
If I'm talking to an engineer, I like to say universal read layer, because I talk to a lot of engineers day to day, and engineers think about this term of write, writing something on a piece of paper, and reading something from the paper. So whenever you put information into a database, you write it. Whenever you take information out, you read it, right? So I will typically say universal read layer. Okay. But yeah, I think if I'm talking to a more non-technical audience, then yeah, a line that you've mentioned, all of Web3's data in one place, that's what we're building. Our flagship product portal, which I'm sure we'll come on to talk about, is a single API to get all web data you need at scale. So yeah, you're right, it's all of Web3's data in one place.
Fantastic, good stuff. I'm glad you agree with me there, because that is what I'm pushing in the marketing. So we touched on it there. If you had to say one of the proudest things that you've actually shipped in your role, would you say Portal is probably one of the biggest things? Yeah,
I mean, I think that's the vision of the company, right? So building on what I mentioned, you have this to kind of get into the challenge here for a second. You have what we call an RPC node, right? Which we can break down some of the specifics later on, but that's the way you would typically access data from the chain. And that was essentially an afterthought. It was just something that Satoshi needed to add so that people could see their wallet balances on Bitcoin, right? We still have that interface, 16, 17 years later. So its interface is very bare bones. It's very basic. It's raw, right? It's something that's not particularly efficient. So the vision of the company was, can we extend that? Can we build something that is much more elegant, that allows you to get a lot more data in one go, which is optimized to run quite complex queries. You can't run complex queries on an RPC node. So yes, that's the entire vision of the company. And so yeah, it was a very proud moment to ship Portal last year.
Amazing. That's really great to hear. So I remember DZ, obviously our CTO, saying about it's the biggest change with blockchain data since Satoshi. So I'm glad you raised that there. I also heard you got one of your captions in there. It's raw. You said that. You love that, don't you?
Yeah, I mean it's raw.
It's our very own Gordon Ramsay, Squid Ramsay there. Brilliant. All right. So obviously this week we've had quite a lot of different meetings about where we are as a company, what our challenges are currently, and where we want to go. We've had to make some, not difficult decisions, but we've had to really put our priorities where they should be and really kind of nail down and double down on where we want to go. So there has been some talk about Web 2.5 clients and how we want to attract this kind of enterprise client. So obviously, without giving too much away on and revealing the whole company internal roadmap right now that we might want to do for competitors, etc. But could you give me a little glimpse maybe into the future and what the kind of North Star is that the execs and the whole team is really going for?
Of course. I think one of the most important things is that if you go to any crypto conference, Web3 conference, you'll see that it's quite a small world, right? There is only so many companies to sell to, and if Subsquid is going to be successful as a company long term, and I mean really successful, I mean genre defining, we need to kind of escape. We need to reach escape velocity for the kind of Web3 bubble, right? We can't just sell. There are some fantastic customers inside Web3, but as you say, we need to reach what we might call Web 2.5. So let's spend 30 seconds there. What is Web 2.5? It's a term we use internally to mean Web 2 companies who are looking into Web3 and who want to enter that world. And these are, some of the largest companies in the world. And they have those customers and the most serious and profitable customers in Web3. They kind of have they're in a different league, let's say, right? They have a different set of requirements. They need absolutely ultra rock solid stability. And so we start to, this word that gets bandied around, we start to enter this enterprise kind of territory where we need to be delivering SLAs that are very, very competitive.
An SLA, sorry, just the community, the SLA.
A service level agreement. So we need to enter into a contractual obligation where we deliver a level of service which is they can rely upon, right? So this is now no longer about just the product. It's about delivering a level of stability that we are essentially, a key part. We become a key partner of our customers to the extent that they can rely upon us. And when something does go wrong at 2 a.m. in the morning, we've got an engineer on call who's going to wake up and fix that, right? Yeah. So, yeah, our future roadmap is that it's become very clear to us in the last year that there are, let's say a handful of really significant players in Web3, and the more of those that we work with, the more it's obvious that we have to provide a very, very competitive and serious product that is as much about stability as it is about features. It's as much about accreditation, being able to really prove that we are as reliable as needed, but doing that in a very professional way. So that then opens the door, like having gone on that journey, that then opens the door to work with, banks who are, in the Fortune 500, right? It's a very different world of serving enterprise. It's just a very different mindset. Whereas, say, several years ago, we were working with Web3 startups who'd raised, a seed round, and they weren't asking us about, SOC 2 accreditation, right? So that's where we see our future, because that's where we can really offer something that I think a lot of people can't, and a lot of our strengths start to compound and allow us to offer something that these people really want. Sure,
absolutely. Okay, brilliant. A real good kind of peek behind the curtain there in terms of what's been said this week. And I think as well, one of the themes of our events actually in Denver, ETH Denver, was something that people have spoke about is consolidation in the industry. There's been quite a lot of here today, gone tomorrow kind of companies. We're now, I believe, in our 5th year as a company. I think we are, from what I know, we are in a very, very strong position. Revenue is obviously an important thing. For us, we clearly do earn revenues. We're in a very healthy position. Revenue pools is something that I think it would be good to touch on alongside Portal. We've obviously built the tech there with Portal, but revenue pools, for people that may not know, it does include locking a lot of SQD. It includes stablecoin yield for participants that is actually coming from real data demand from our clients. So, for example, we have Lambda, who's a big player in Solana DeFi. They have a portal as well as a revenue pool. So we actually do have quite a few participants from the community, and it was around 5 million SQD that was actually locked in record time. It may have even been more than that off the top of my head, but it was a fair few million SQD, and we was actually shocked in the team. It was literally like 4 hours, and the max that people could actually participate with was 250,000 SQD. So, are you excited about revenue pools? It's something that the community is really going on about. They want more and more and more. The more revenue pools, the more SQD locked, the more token scarcity, the more, there should be a pretty good effect in terms of the token price, hopefully. So, yeah, on revenue pools, are you pretty happy with how that's gone so far, and you're excited for the next ones to launch?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've obviously been very heavily involved there, so you as much as anyone know how excited the team has been. Personally, for me, it's a very important landmark that we launched the first pool, and now we've launched another. I think from a kind of product and technology point of view, the most important thing for anyone to kind of realize is that these pools allow us to decouple the holder of the token from the capacity that's provided, right? So we can stand up a portal from a technology perspective, right? So we can hire, we can rent the server, we can basically take the code base and stand the portal up, but we don't need to have the 5 or 10 million SQD to run it, right? And the community can provide that to us and then earn some of the revenue that portal generates. So that's a key piece of technology in terms of us using the capacity of the network and, as I say, decoupling these two key components. So yeah, that's been on our roadmap it's probably on the roadmap for 6 months. So it's amazing to see it to come out the other side. And then as we bring more enterprise customers on, obviously if we have a revenue pool for each one of those, as you said, it allows someone to really take part in our journey just by buying the token, but they don't necessarily need to know how to run a portal, right? But they provide collateral to the network, they allow a customer to access the capacity of the network, they earn some yield, and it's a very harmonious and effective kind of economic loop, basically. So yeah, it's a key part of, it's not necessarily our product because it's a product to the people who buy the SQD per se. But in terms of people consuming Web3 data, it's not something we necessarily lead with. But in terms of building for the long term, it's a very powerful part of what we have. And if you can imagine, as we add more and more enterprise customers, I think you can figure out where this is going.
Absolutely. So it is really encouraging to see. Obviously, I've got access to the different enterprise channels that we have and the team discussing different meetings that are going on. I would be absolutely scolded, and you might actually give me a slap around the chops right now if I was to say some of the names that we're discussing with at the moment. But yeah, I'm not going to say too much more, but I think if the holders and the community knew what we knew, then I think they'd be pretty excited. Would you say that's fair to say?
Yeah, and I think the things that we can say is that you mentioned it before around consolidation, right? We've been here for 5 years, and that is, it gives us an enormous amount of pedigree. So when someone from that Web 2.5 world approaches us, the difference between being around for 5 years and 5 months is just incomparable, right? We have a track record of being here. We've seen a lot of the waves of Web3 and the things that come and go, and we're laser focused on making it easy to read data. Now and again we've done some experiments outside of that, but we keep coming back to that. So yeah, I would agree that being around this long, you can start to imagine some of the people who are in our kind of enterprise funnel, if you like. And as we learn more and more what those kinds of customers need, then obviously it starts to compound. So yeah, it should be an interesting rest of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I for one am absolutely so excited for the rest of the year. And right now, there's quite a lot going on in the industry. I'd say there is possibly some bear market vibes you've got going around. I think with the oncoming of AI, you are seeing more and more hacks as well. There is not an elephant in the room, but as we're recording this, and it might not come out for a little while, hopefully it will come out fairly soon, but there is an insanely large, we just had Drift Protocol last week, I think it was over 200 million, I believe, and now we've got the KelpDAO and the LayerZero situation unfolding. There's quite a lot of fog of war at the moment, so it probably wouldn't be right for us to, no one's pointing fingers from our side, but obviously it's a $290 million hack. As I say, some details are unclear, but it does look as though a certain group has made RPC fall over, and there was a one DVN, or an RPC list has been leaked, or someone's been compromised. What can you say about the way that the SQD technology validates data and how, not that we can totally stop this kind of thing happening, I'm not saying that we're the cure to it, but what can you say to how we go about validating data that kind of can be a bit of a barrier to this kind of thing happening?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I can't comment on the case specifically. I don't know it well enough, but I think, yeah, we sit at the intersection of security and infrastructure, which is why I'm so passionate about this project. And the fundamental takeaway here is that you can't trust RPC, right? So when you join a network with a node or with a light client, you have to cryptographically verify the data, right? So of course you have a whole other class of hacks where there's some kind of vulnerability in the smart contract code.
Sure.
But staying here in an RPC node is trusted.
We just had to take a little cut there because of ambulance going past, unfortunately. But as you were saying, that
well, maybe the ambulance is representative of what's happening in Web3 right now. I think what I was saying was that fundamentally you can't trust an RPC node, right? So if you join a network as a full node or as a light client, you need to cryptographically verify the information that you're receiving. Whereas an RPC node is if you're grabbing data from it's joined to the network, but you have to trust it.
Sure.
You have to trust that whoever is operating that node. And we like to think we live in this decentralized, trustless world, but if you're getting information from any RPC node, unless you're running it yourself, you're trusting that person. So one of the things that we're building over time is to ensure that you don't have to trust RPC nodes, right? So we'll go and get that data for you. We have to deal with that interface, that's fine, but we'll go to multiple RPC nodes, right? We'll make sure that we're not just relying on one person, and we'll start to ensure that lots and lots of checks are run so that we know that the information we're getting is the information that was on chain. So,
right.
So we see our job, and we do every piece of information we pull in now. We have 6 cryptographic data checks that we do already, and it's something that we're just building out over time. So we want to solve multiple issues. We want to solve the data quality issue, right? Many times you will try and pull some information from an RPC node, and maybe the block's empty for some reason, right? Maybe they're having some issues. So we want to take all of those issues off you. We want to solve the fact that the speed, right? We want to ensure that you get data as fast as, so what we call data freshness, right? You're getting the data as fast as possible. And we obviously want to solve this correctness, right? So between quality, speed and correctness, we want to take all of these infrastructure problems out of your hands. So of course, as you said, that's not going to completely remove the possibility of a hack, but we want you to not have to trust RPC nodes, and we want to get the data in a way that you don't even have to trust us, right? We can prove to you, the classic Web3 statement, don't trust, verify. So that's our long-term goal, and we continue to push towards it.
Okay, fantastic. That's really, really helpful. It kind of touches on a few things that I wanted to dive into, really. So, yeah, it's like, obviously, looking at us, and you say there's speed and data correctness. Now, obviously, having one of them is difficult enough, but trying to do both is some task. So would you say that is one of our edges against the graph and the alliums and the alchemies of the world? Maybe not allium there, they're obviously structured data, but alchemy and the graph, would you say that we are kind of getting that speed and data correctness? Is that our edge?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of looking at specific players in the markets, the graph is largely a legacy project now. It works very well, kind of to get started, and you can go and look at the things that the graph are building on, alongside or on top of subgraphs. Substreams being a notable example because they're hitting their own scaling problems with subgraphs. And then obviously Alchemy are essentially an RPC provider, and they're trying to do that as well as possible. I think you're right. Our edge is it's very much in providing that raw data, but in a much more efficient, effective, scalable, reliable way. So we want to, we've already made huge strides towards this, but we want to keep improving the freshness, getting that latency down as much as possible. But in doing that, we're not just going to a single RPC provider, right? We want to go to 2 or 3, and we'll get you whichever block arrives first, right? And maybe we'll run an RPC node in a specific place so we can lower that latency. But yeah, the freshness is a big one. Obviously, our enterprise clients want 1 sub-second latency. The quality is obviously another big one. And the correctness as well, right? All of those checks. So yeah, I think our, if you want to frame it in this way, our edge is being able to provide an incredibly reliable, stable product, which means these kinds of customers who themselves need to provide an incredibly reliable, a massive DeFi protocol, right? They just need to be able to rely upon the latency and correctness and quality of their data and not even have to think about it. So I think that long term is our edge, and obviously SQD network is a huge part of how we can do that, because we have thousands of workers upon which we can distribute that historical data. So yeah, it's a mixture of all 3. And obviously, depending upon the client and their specific use case and business, sometimes one is more important than the other. But you shouldn't have to trust an RPC node. That's like, if you're thinking about hacks, that's the message. And there are some incredible RPC node providers out there. But our attitude long term is that we want to be able to verify, right? We're a Web3 company at heart. So let us do the verification of the data, and you focus on your business and what is your speciality.
Nice, fantastic. Okay, I think with current events, that is a very strong message, to be fair.
And I think, obviously I don't want to be going through these events, but that's our message all the time. Even when Web3 is in a bull market and no one's worrying about hacks. We've had it's like the sign in the factory, right? However many days since an accident, right? Even when that number is large, that's still our goal.
Yes.
We are here to solve the read side of Web3 data on a freshness, latency, and quality, and we'll just keep doing that, and over time we see the rewards of doing that. There's not that many companies who either manage to or aim to just kind of build for the long term, but that's always been kind of part of the like DNA of the company. We want to be here in 5 years from now, still solving these problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, brilliant. All right, so I think what the community, holders, stakeholders, even people in the team can look forward to over the next, we're coming up to May now, on the run up to Q2, Q3, Q4. I think from my perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, and obviously add a few things here, more revenue pools, more enterprise clients. I want to say one thing, which I probably shouldn't, but it's very bullish and you will be excited, and it should be happening within the next weeks. Is there anything else that you think that people can look forward to this year, or have I pretty much nailed it?
I think, you've sat in all of the meetings this week. I think it's very, we just want to focus on doing one thing and doing it incredibly well. And that's Web3 data, right? And even, as I said, alluded to earlier in the conversation, we've sometimes stepped outside of that. And, we want to come back to our core strength. And even within Web3 data, that's a big space. You've mentioned, Allium, right? And they're dealing with structured data, right? And then you've got Dune, who builds this, this platform for structured data. We want to continue to compound and get better ultimately just be the best at offering raw data. That's what we built Portal for, that's what we've got this vision for. And of course, we're always working to meet our customer where they're at, and we have fantastic SDKs, and we help people build out structured data sets. But if we can create that incredible experience in making it very easy to get raw Web3 data at scale, be very reliable, then that is our edge, to go back to the word you used earlier. So yeah, this year is just about doubling down on all of that. You've seen all the roadmaps, you've seen everything from the SRE side, from the marketing side, the sales side. It's all focused on that. So yeah, more revenue pools, more enterprise clients is the focus. And you know, it might sound, dare I say it, a little bit dull, but we're doing one thing and we want to do it really well.
Yeah, for sure. Brilliant. Okay, all right. So I think we've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to. I'm going to chuck a few phrases at you here. Long live the squid.
Long live the squid.
Thank you. SQD is forever.
Correct.
One SQD equals... No, I can't say it. I'm not allowed to say it. One SQD equals one USD.
I mean, not financial advice.
Of course not. No, of course not. But yeah, we love the community. We really do. In there every day chatting to them. So if anyone's listening and they do want to come and join the community and get involved, there's a few things they can do. They can join our Telegram, which is literally @subsquid. They can delegate. They can join a revenue pool, but they do fill up extremely quickly. So you have to stay tuned to Twitter. So follow the Twitter as well for that. And yeah, just strap in for the ride, because it's going to be, I think this year's going to be one hell of a ride.
I'll give you one thing, Joe.
Yeah.
If you can get enough interest, you can decide this. If you can get enough interest from the community, maybe it's a number of likes on a tweet, or the tweet maybe of this, etc. Some crazy number like 10,000 likes, or whatever the going rate is. Sure. I'll do a live stream and I'll answer questions live.
Oh, okay.
I'll go on Twitch and people can just ask me questions live.
Yeah, to be fair, I know one of the Mukam, his name is, he actually has sent a full list as long as my arm. We have tried to cover quite a few of them in this, so just to be clear, I have taken some of the community's questions and put them into this interview. So. Okay, cool.
I'll commit to that if we can get some number of likes, which you can decide.
All right.
And then I'll do a live stream for a couple of hours, and I can show some of the things that I'm working on, that the business is working on.
Nice, I love that. Perfect. We'll have to find a good venue for that. That sounds really, really cool. All right, so I think that's everything. Thank you so much, Dan. You want to go back to your work now?
I will do, Joe.
Okay.
Thanks, boss.
Nice one. Cheers.